Hi everyone. I'm Kirill Sitz, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Torus Advisors. And we develop a product which helps banks to better understand the fees that the banks are paying to payment systems like Visa and MasterCard and optimize those costs up to 20%. So there's around $24 trillion market of processing payments by Visa and MasterCard. And the key roles are the issuer bank, so the bank which typically that's a bank which issues the card to a cardholder. Then there's an acquirer which enables merchant to accept the payments. And then there are payment systems in between. And even within this neobanks area, almost 90% of all cards issued by neobanks are still being based on Visa and MasterCard. And for their services, payment system charge both roles, so both issuer and acquirer, different fees. And these are the revenues for those payment systems. And globally, they sum up to 70 or $71 billion per annum. And the interesting fact is that this revenue, so meaning these fees, the amount of fees is growing like 10 to 12% per year, while the processed volume is growing only like 6 to 8% per year, meaning that there's every year that more and more fees coming in and the burden is growing. On the other hand, the fees themselves, so the structure of a particular invoice is that so cumbersome that average bank is telling us that they would like to better understand what they are paying for, because there are like half of the fees are more or less clear, like transactional and volume, but there are a lot of smaller items which can sum up to like 40% of the total fees. And based on our experience, just by being more clear about the particular items in the fees that the banks are paying for, they could save up to 20% of those fees. And we developed a product which actually helps them to do that. So it first helps them to, so we take the data that banks is already exchanging with payment system, like the invoices, the clearing data, and the quality reported data. So we do not need any like special preparation on the bank side. Then we take the data to our models and we produce three types of values to them. First is the analytical part, so just to be able to understand allocation of a particular fee down to a single transaction or a product or even to line of business, because that's not clear also sometimes. So what is performance of issuing versus acquiring business, because not all fees are like clearly allocated between those. Then the second thing is to be able to forecast the fees based on the transactional patterns of your customers. So how much would you be paying next year? Or then the second part of it is how to reconcile the fees that you should have been paying this year versus the amount you've been invoiced by the payment system. And the third part is to actually, what is the cost saving potential? So the model calculates each particular items that based on our experience can be like get rid of. So for example, there is like information services that are not typically not used by the banks, but are still being paid for, or some penalties. And then so we calculate, the system calculates the potential and also provides a set of recommendations to realize this potential. So we already have several pilots performed here locally in Russia and CIS. So a couple of examples are the VTB Bank is one of the leading Russian banks with 15 million customers. And Russian subsidiary of Societe Generale Group, this bank also has around like 5 million customers here in Russia. We have in the team, so the core team has a vast experience in payments, data analysis, and banking. So myself and my partner, co-founder Igor, so we used to work for MasterCard for quite a lot of time, and so I was dealing on consulting part of it while Igor was dealing on the technical part. So we know on like hands-on approach what is about this connecting a bank to a payment system, what is the structure of the fees they're paying for. And also we have Dennis, who is after our BI and data analysis part. And besides that, we have 2 business analysts being spread between Russia and Kazakhstan right now. As for our traction, we started around mid last year. So our first goal was to, once we get this idea, was to identify, do some kind of feasibility study. So identify, are there any customers that are willing to pay for such types of services? And we successfully passed that. So we did several pilots for last year. So, and the sales right now is up to around like $70K. We're also gained a strong pipeline in our local markets for this year, and several opportunities have already been converted into new contracts. And for this year, we have plans to like scale up locally, so go into more like regular usage of the product. We have some plans to upgrade the backend part of it in order to be like more easy to integrate, to be integrated with transactional data from the banks. And also we're aggressively testing international markets, because the good thing about the product is that as we're using the data sets which are exchanged between Visa and MasterCard and banks, so then the tariffs between different regions and particular countries are for sure different, but the data structure and the data is used is the same. So that's why for us it's quite easily to scale the product to a new geography. So it meaning just to amend the tariffs. That's why our goal for this year is to test the markets, test the ground, so identify is this the demand. And that's why we're here, and we believe that there's a material potential in Southeast Asia, because there's a lot of transactional business which should be interested in understanding on the very deep level the unit economy of their products. So basically that's it. Thanks a lot. I'm ready to answer the questions either now or offline. So